Hi, welcome to the Dylan Show. Tonight's guest is Sam Rochon, Master Magician of the entire world after he won the Master Magician Championships 2 years ago. Sam, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking, Dylan.
So, how did you end up being the Master Magician of the whole world? Where did your whole magician career start?
Oh, I think it would probably be easiest to explain if we go right back to the very, very beginning of my life. So, I was born in China, and I was abandoned at a very, very early age by my parents. I was living off the streets in China, and at a very early age, 3 years old, I entered into a huge poker tournament. I made it all the way to the finals. However, I lost because the person I was against in the final round cheated and lost everything that I had. I had nothing to my name after this.
So, why did you move? Why didn't you stay in China?
Because I had nothing left for me there. I had no parents, I had no money, and I wanted to get a fresh start on my life. So I packed up everything that I had and I started traveling north towards Mongolia.
So what happened in Mongolia? I heard there was a huge event that changed your entire life in Mongolia.
That's absolutely right, Dylan. The most pivotal event in my entire life, meeting my mentor, Naran Batar, in Mongolia. It was kind of a strange first meeting. I was walking through the steppes and I saw him sitting there in the field, just meditating, it seemed like. And when I approached him, he greeted me and he asked me to take a seat beside him. I took a seat beside Naran Batar and he handed me a deck of cards and he started instructing me and teaching me how to use them in ways that I've never seen before. He was a master magician. I trained with Naran Batar for many years, and he taught me a huge amount of things that you could do with a deck of cards that I never would have even imagined before. And after many, many years of training, he released me from his mentorship.
Why did you leave Mongolia? What ended up happening there that made you leave?
I was completely done my training with Naran Batar, and there was really nothing left for me in Mongolia, so I decided to get on the move again and start a new life elsewhere with my newfound talents. I traveled north again. Eventually, I reached Russia and the town of St. Petersburg.
You left St. Petersburg just about 3 years ago, and there was an event that drove you out of there. What happened?
Well, it had to do with the kind of lifestyle that I was having in St. Petersburg. When I first got there, I had no supplies. I had completely run out of food. I had no money and no way of living. But I did have all the talents and skills that Naran Batar taught me. And so I began to swindle people on the streets with a deck of cards, playing a few different card games. They weren't exactly fair, but that's how I made my money.
So why'd you move out of Russia?
Well, eventually my con artist career ground to a halt because I tried to trick the wrong type of person. So I'll tell you the story. It was a day like any other, and this girl approached my table with a huge amount of money, something that I've never seen before. And I was pretty excited because I knew I had this one in the bag. Started my con just like any other time. However, when I revealed that she had lost and went to take the money, she stopped me and revealed the trick that I had pulled on her. Needless to say, she was very, very angry. And it should also be mentioned, I didn't know this at the time, but I found out later on, after I was getting all sorts of trouble, that she was the head of the Russian mafia. And they chased me down with bounty hunters and all other sorts of undesirable folk. That's what forced me to leave Russia.
How could you possibly escape? Those are pretty dangerous people.
They were indeed, and I didn't have an easy time of it. I had to hide on streets for about a week before I realized I had to get right out of there as far as possible, away from St. Petersburg. And so, with the with the winnings that I earned from that one game with the Russian mob boss, I paid off a cargo loader for our barge ship. And he stowed me away in the cargo area of that ship, and off I went across the ocean.
Where'd you end up?
So I was found out eventually in the cargo area of the barge ship, and my ride was over. This is when we had made port, and so I had to jump off, made my way down the St. Lawrence River. So when I crawled out of the river, I was completely exhausted, but I had finally made it to a destination that seemed sustainable.
And with no Russian mafia, right?
That's exactly right. Very, very exciting for me, because I didn't have to worry about being murdered.
So what happened in Toronto that made you stay? You moved around a lot of places.
That's true, Dylan, and I stayed in Toronto for a very particular reason. I met the love of my life. She was a gorgeous girl. Her name was Iana, and we just had something special together. She helped me a lot in my career as well. She turned me straight, you could say. So before I met this girl, as you heard earlier, my ethics and the way I used magic was pretty off. I was using it for bad, to take people out of their money. And after I met her, she completely changed my life around. I used my talents for good, for the entertainment of people. I became a professional magician. Life was great. I had an apartment, stable job, I had someone to share everything with, and everything was going perfectly well until my old master, Naran Batar, the master Mongolian magician, found me in Toronto. Naran Batar believed that I was squandering my gifts, and so he did something really drastic. And so one day when I was out with her, I left for just a moment, and Naran Batar took that time to strike. And he killed her.
That's horrible, Sam.
It was horrible. And afterwards, all I could think about was revenge. I wanted to destroy Naran Batar. I wanted to humiliate him in a way that he's never experienced before. And I found the perfect opportunity to do exactly that. The World Championship of Magic. I knew he would be entering. He was the now 6th-time reigning world champion, but I knew that I could beat him. I beat many other contestants, but eventually I made it to the final round, and of course, my opponent then was Naran Batar. I performed my first trick, something new that Naran Batar has never seen before, and once I've completed it, I can tell he's surprised. I've got him on the ropes, and I have a little trick up my sleeve. It's his turn now. He begins his magic trick, asks me to select a card. I do, but I switch that card out for another one. I replace the card. He continues with his trick, eventually failing it in front of an audience of millions.
So you cheated in the World Championships of Magic.
Using what my old master taught me. Now it's my turn to perform another trick for Naran Batar and the audience. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. Something that I've worked on for months before this. Perfected it. One of the most difficult tricks in all of magic. I begin, and I continue, and I complete the trick. Complete silence. Everyone is stunned, especially Naran Batar. His mouth gapes open for a few seconds before he goes completely hysterical. He leaves the table, clutches his chest, and after running backstage, he dies of a heart attack.
So your master is dead, you're now the world champion of magic. What happened next?
I opened a magician rehabilitation center for old con artists and swindlers to teach them the way that cards are supposed to be used for entertainment.
So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Sam, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dylan. It was my pleasure.